It's Creepy Carrot Month Year 2, and the big day is right around the corner. The big day being Halloween, of course. Every year in my household, we have this tradition where as soon as the calendar strikes October, or as everybody else calls it, Creepy Carrot Month, we devote ourselves to watching exclusively Halloween or horror media. And this year, I've watched, read, and played a bunch of stuff that I think is really cool and that I'd love to share with you. Maybe you're having trouble finding the right thing to watch on Halloween night, or maybe you're just curious what I've been up to, but in today's video, I'm going to recommend several pieces of horror or Halloween media that I think you might enjoy this Creepy Carrot Month.
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another, I mean the 82nd. So first of all, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different media in this video, but I'm a little scared to feature the footage from the stuff that I'm talking about. Last year, I made a video about the original Child's Play, and YouTube really didn't appreciate me using so much footage. The YouTube copyright system, a very different type of fright on Halloween, am I right? And so I've been trying to figure out exactly how to go about doing videos like that in the future. And I still haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do with that. So instead of watching the footage of the things I'll be talking about, you'll be watching some Marvel's Avengers footage with the new Supernatural skins. Which, by the way, if you're playing Marvel's Avengers, that's my first recommendation. There are Supernatural skins in the game now, and they were released recently, and I think they're really awesome. If you have the extra money, I really think that the skins and the nameplates are really fun for fans of Halloween. Also, keep in mind that while I'll be talking about multiple pieces of media, I'm not going to be giving strict reviews. These are just fun, lighthearted recommendations that get the general idea across. In the future, I might do full dedicated reviews on much of the media featured in this video. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's jump into our recommendations. So first up, let's throw a couple movies out there. I am a huge Halloween fan. The first movie is debatably my favorite horror movie ever made. And I also think that it could be a perfect Halloween film. If you've never watched it before, I highly recommend you check it out on Halloween specifically. Watching this movie on Halloween night, especially as the sun is setting, is something that I've been doing for years now. I took the recommendation from angry video game nerd and horror fan James Rolfe, and I've really appreciated that insight, and so I pass it on to you. Watching the original 1978 Halloween film on Halloween night as the sun is setting is one of the coolest, creepiest ways to welcome Halloween that I can think of. And if you're looking for a cool Halloween, I think it's a good place to start. And also, while I wouldn't recommend this to anybody because I think this movie's amazing and it deserves your attention, it's also just a great background movie. There's a lot of silence and empty spaces in the first Halloween. You know, it's by design, it's part of the suspense of the movie. You're meant to feel like you're being watched, and so there's a lot of silence. But as a result, I think it's a great background movie if you're carving pumpkins, for example, or doing other Halloween activities. So even if you're not giving it your full attention, I think Halloween is perfect for Halloween night and in general. Also, I don't know, for bar mitzvahs. As I mentioned earlier, every Creepy Carrot Month, or October as some people like to call it, we decide to watch Halloween and horror-themed things all month. Now the thing is, I think there's more horror stuff than there is like Halloween general stuff. And so as a result, we end up watching a lot of horror movies, which we love. We love horror movies in this household. But it definitely can be a little exhausting to watch people in terror and to be scared and to watch people die multiple times over and over for an entire month. So sometimes it's nice to have what I like to call a combo breaker, where we have something Halloween themed or horror themed that's a little bit more lighthearted. And one of my many recommendations for a piece of media that fits that bill is Hotel Transylvania. Now, I've been a huge Hotel Transylvania fan since the first movie, but as time has gone on, they've added sequels that I think are better than the original film. They're simple movies that chronicle what it's like running a hotel for monsters, but more specifically, they follow the family dynamic of a father vampire, his daughter vampire, and the fact that she's marrying a human, and the dynamics and conflicts that grow and change from the first film all the way to the third and soon to be fourth. Generally speaking, they're very simple movies. The biggest praise I can give it actually is on its animation style. At the time, similar to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, it helped pioneer this combination of 2D and 3D artwork. And so the way these 3D models move is really unique compared to other 3D CGI animated films at the time or since. And so genuinely, I think it deserves a lot of credit for doing those things. But in general, it's a fun, obvious Halloween movie. And if you're looking to watch something that keeps you in the spirit of the season without being too scared or morbid, I think the Hotel Transylvania franchise is a great choice for you. And like I said, I like the first movie, but I genuinely think Hotel Transylvania 2 and 3 might be better. And speaking as somebody who loves sequels, it's rare to say that about multiple installments. Yeah, so anyway, moving on. I don't know. How do I transition out of here? When it comes to video games this creepy carrot month, I highly recommend the indie game Darkwood. Darkwood is kind of like an overhead tower defense horror game, if that makes any sense. The protagonist finds themselves trapped inside of an ever-expanding forest, where his company is more monstrous than human, and the player explores a procedurally generated world in an attempt to escape. Now, this game is cool for a lot of reasons, but I want to focus specifically on one aspect of the experience that causes me to recommend it so strongly. The sound design and the sound mixing is some of the best I've heard in any video game ever. Sound is a really important part of horror, and when looking at a game like Darkwood, I'm sure many would assume its pixelated art style isn't very scary. Well, as a shock to those people, I personally think that the game can be tremendously frightening beyond that assumption because of the sound design. The atmosphere in the game is perfection, and playing it in the dark with headphones on can be really difficult for me sometimes. And it's difficult because I'm scared. I'm genuinely scared that the sounds that I'm hearing in the game are going to reach out of the TV and appear in real life. So if you're looking for a horror game this Halloween, I highly recommend Darkwood, and try to take your time with it. I don't think it's a game that you want to speed run or beat as quickly as you can, at least for your first run. I think you should just take it easy and, explore the environment and take in the sights and the sounds. Sounds like ow cuckoo, or sometimes like wee, sounds like that. All those kinds of sounds. Okay, look, the game doesn't sound like that. That's just me, I don't know, doing my own thing. That's me doing, kind of, being creative. That Darkwood doesn't sound like that. It sounds way scarier than what I was doing, okay? Now, if you're looking for a good superhero comic to read this creepy carrot month, maybe looking in the direction of Spider-Man's villain Carnage is a good idea. You see, I've always said that Venom would be great if they embraced him in horror media, but it seems that over time, Marvel has embraced Carnage instead in this direction. During this month's Carrot Comic Book Club, we read the first 5 issues of Carnage 2015. Now, I think this book is awesome, but I wouldn't say that it's the scariest, honestly. It definitely has its frightening moments, but overall, I think it's a tense action adventure that works really well. It does a great job depicting the characters in the story, some of them brand new and others who have been neglected in comic book lore for a while. And the stakes are bizarre and interesting, and that's the way that I like it. Cletus Cassidy was a serial killer before he became Carnage, and the story starts when he discovers that one of his first victims survived, and that just upsets him. And so simply put, he really wants to kill this individual. But again, while I really love Carnage 2015, and while I do think that it could be a fun read for Creepy Carrot Month, I don't think that it's the scariest. Now, around the same time that I was reading this, I finally caught up with my personal reading and checked out Absolute Carnage. Now, Absolute Carnage, at least conceptually, I think is a pretty solid horror idea. Carnage is searching for everyone who has ever hosted a symbiote, and he's going to remove their spine once he finds them and consume it. Now, I don't know if it's a horror comic specifically, but with that concept and a lot of the atmosphere in some of the issues, I felt like it hit just right for me. A lot of the time, I ended up listening to a lot of my favorite music from different horror movies. And while reading a lot of these Absolute Carnage issues, I was just thinking to myself that, yeah, I like reading this in Creepy Carrot Month. Or October, whatever you want to. In fact, to my surprise, I enjoyed Absolute Carnage so much that I referenced it when I carved my Halloween pumpkin this year. And honestly, I think I did a pretty good job. Not to pat myself on the back too much, but it was difficult carving that spiral, and I think it came out pretty well. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. So yeah, Carnage might not be the greatest character in the world, he may not have the most depth, but embracing him as a horror entity is really smart for his longevity, I think. And I recommend Absolute Carnage and some of his other books for this Creepy Carrot Month. Or October, if that's what you want to call it. I don't know why you want to call it that, because everybody calls it Creepy Carrot Month, but, October, whatever. John Carpenter is known for many things. He's an incredibly talented and creative man. One of the things he's known for is his excellent work on music, having created some of the most iconic movie themes of all time. But one soundtrack that I don't think he gets enough attention for is the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch soundtrack. I think this is potentially his best musical work for the Halloween franchise, and it's because it's so unique. It borrows a lot of the sounds that make the soundtrack from the first two films iconic, but it creates new melodies that range from strange to foreboding, and they're all super memorable. I remember listening to the Halloween 3 soundtrack for the first time isolated from the movie, and I felt like I was being taken to another dimension. For me, I know that music is especially good when I can start visualizing things. In some cases, it's scenes from a movie, and in other cases, it's completely new images. And the Halloween 3 soundtrack gives me so much to think about, and it helps me visualize so many different things. So whenever I'm trying to get creeped out, I put on the Halloween 3 soundtrack, and I recommend you do the same because it's pretty scary. Music being scary. Who would have thought? Am I right? Get Out was hailed as a landmark film in horror and an extremely significant project for Jordan Peele's career. While I think that Get Out is a fantastic film by Jordan Peele, I've found myself thinking more recently, especially after multiple viewings, that I think his 2019 film Us is my favorite of the two that he's made. I'm a big fan of B-horror, monster horror, and over-the-top shenanigans in horror films, so I'll end up recommending a lot of horror movies like that, right? But if you're looking for a horror movie that has a little bit more substance and maybe something to chew on in terms of subtext, I think this is a great choice for you. The soundtrack is fantastic, the cinematography is super inventive, and it really sticks with me. There are shots in this movie that I think of all the time. I also think that most of the movie is horror elements, which I appreciate because a lot of other films will put off more horror elements until you're like 45 minutes or an hour into the movie. And I don't know about you, but I want to get into it as soon as possible. And even beyond scary, there's just a lot of bizarre visuals that really keep the film captivating as a horror piece. The way I say it is like, I want to know that I'm watching a horror movie. I want to see these little details or have this atmosphere that proves to me that I'm watching a horror film instead of anything else. And I think Us does a great job at keeping it in that realm of scary the whole time. But most of all, more than anything else, I genuinely think the movie has something to say, and discovering that as a viewer is really fun and enlightening. So if you're looking for a horror movie that has a little bit more substance, I highly recommend Us. For your viewing this October 31st. Or 30, what do they say? They call it 30, 30, they don't say once, they say 30, what is it? Halloween, there we go. At the end of the day, you have a lot of options when it comes to Halloween. You can watch and read and experience so many different things that keep you in the spirits of the holiday. And these are just a couple of suggestions that I thought were fun this year, and I hope they're helpful for you. If you have anything you'd like me to check out for Halloween, make sure to mention it in the comments below. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you again so much for watching. If for some reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. As longtime viewers of the channel know, I make a variety of content on my channel, and I'm always going to make the kind of videos that I want to make, but if you see something you enjoy, make sure to let me know, and I'll try to prioritize that kind of content in the future. This month has been Creepy Carrot Month Year 2, and on my Twitch channel, I've been playing a number of horror games all month to celebrate. And if you want to check out the tail end of that celebration, check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps. And all my other social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, are at carrotscraps as well. So I want to thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Recommendations. I don't know. I recommend candy corn. I know that's controversial, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be controversial, but I like candy corn. I have a bag of it right next to me as I'm recording this video. So go get some candy corn. And then put it in one of those bowls with like the skeleton hand or the zombie hand that comes and gets you when you try to reach for some. But don't tease your animals with that bowl. I've been seeing videos like that. And don't tease your animals. They don't deserve it. Candy corn is good, okay?